Hello, welcome back to the live streams. Hopefully everything is going just fine on you guys' end. I'm going to give it a moment for everything to kind of catch up. Let's see what's new in the new year. I have a new mic. Hopefully you guys are hearing everything loud and clear. Where today's the first time I'm testing it with all of you, so we will see how that goes. How are you all doing? It's been a while. It has been a while. I'm so glad to be back with you guys today. Yeah, long time no see, says George Pencil Art. It's been a while. It's so nice to be back. All right. Audio is live, video is live. Thank you, Joseph. Okay. I was inspired by my friend Lindsay over at the Frugal Crafter channel here on YouTube to not only get, but to do one project a month this year to create my own watercolor calendar. We got this from Lightwish. Now, full disclosure, Lightwish did not send me mine. I know Lightwish has sent other creators stuff, but not me, not yet. Who knows? Maybe in the future, but as of right now, no. I bought this with my own money. Everything is linked in the description below. And thank you, Wildflower. And we are going to do a project a month. Now, I know it's January 30th. This is not lost on me. It has been one heck of a month here. So I was fighting the fatigue really bad at the beginning of the year, which usually happens to me after the rush of the holidays. I've developed chronic fatigue after the pandemic. We'll just say the pandemic, and all that it involved. And on top of my fibromyalgia. So after the holidays, I am just like useless for at least a week. And that's all I thought I was going to need to recoup. But then it was just one thing after another, and my parents got sick, and I wasn't able to be live with you. And it has not been because of me and my health the last couple weeks, but outside influences that have affected my ability to be with you. But I'm so glad to be back now. And hopefully, like I said, everyone can hear the new mic just fine. We're going to see. I don't know if I'll be using the heat tool today, but we will see. It's supposed to be canceling some noise. So hopefully that will automatically take care of it, and I won't have to worry about any of that. So today we're going to be painting January. Now, I have got some tips for you. If you don't have this calendar, it's fine. It's fine. I do have it linked below, but I'm going to tell you all how you can do this all on your own without getting this. You don't need this. This was a convenience. So let's switch it up so you can see the desk as well. And just hello to D-Lane Creative Arts. Hi, Rob. Rob's on stealth mode. Shh. Joseph's here, Wildflower and George, Virginia. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Other Tara, hello. I don't know if we're going to see original Tara, our moderator. I know she's still, other Tara and Tara, who are over in like Ireland, Scotland area, just had bad storms that had come through. And I know Tara's still dealing with no power. So it's quite possible she's not going to be in the chat with us today. But we wish her all the best, and hopefully they will have power back soon. But both of our moderators have channels here on YouTube, so if you have not checked them out, their links are in the description below. Hello, Judy. If I missed anybody, I'm just kind of scrolling back through the chat. I apologize. I think I got everyone that's here right now, and I will try to greet others as they come in. So now that we're switched down, you can see what we're working with. The calendar from Lightwish, they're individual pieces of watercolor paper. And let's just see. What is the weight of that paper, Rob asks. It doesn't say on the back of this. I don't know if it said in the description. Of course, I do again. Oh, right there. Yes, it does. Lightwish, pure 100% cotton, 300 GSM. So it's about 140 pound paper. You can see at the at the top there. It came with this little stand, so you can display your calendar page each month. You guys aren't seeing that because I just took that off camera, but this is comes flat like this, can pop in like so. Then you would set that there and just put your page on top of it. So there is that. Now each month comes with a couple quotes on the page. For January, it was "Art is not what you see, but what you make others see," and that is by Edgar Degas. And then the painter has the universe in his mind and hands, Leonardo da Vinci. So there we go. Those were the quotes for January. And each one is separate. Now, I know it is definitely not lost on me that this is the 30th of January, and I'm just finally painting Januaries. But you know what? I'm happy to be painting Januaries today. I can't tell you how happy I am to be painting Januaries today. Let me just move this stuff to the side. And I'm going to share with you what inspired this painting, the one that I'm going to do for January. I don't have line art of this. This was just my sketch. Of course, you know, we have to start the year off with some happy trees. And if you don't have, oh my gosh, all of a sudden my nose just wants to feel like it's running. Sorry, it's classy. But anyhow, if you don't have this calendar and you're like, I don't know if I want to buy the calendar, you could, as an alternative, because you see how they did the month, it's just down at the bottom here in this little inch of the bottom of the paper. You could easily do that, right? We could easily write in the days of the week. They do 2 weeks across, so it takes up less space. And then they put, of course, the month and the year. You're going to know it's 2025. But I had a couple ideas. If you didn't want to get that, you could use something like this. If you have one of the Mead and Watercolor blocks, you could paint it on a page and just put this in with fine liner. Write it in yourself, excuse me. Or you could use one of these. All right, this is the Strathmore Visual Journal. Now, this is not going to be cotton paper. This is like a cellulose, wood pulp paper, whereas this is also cotton paper. But you could, George says, yes, the tree lady is back. So you could use one of the visual journals, the watercolor one. Again, these are all linked below. And what I like about this one is it's spiral bound. So you could paint your first, right? Just flip it open, paint January there, and then you can just flip it to the next one and do January, and then do January. It's been a long month. Do February and then do, you know what I mean? You could just keep going through there, and you could just have it be like your calendar book, and you could keep going next year if you were so inspired to do so. So I thought that would be a good idea, and it's about the same size. And you can use, I forget where I ordered these, but this is a little stand, and it could stand up on there. Also, if you just did it with regular watercolor paper, I'm sure you can find little stands like this at Dollar Tree. Check where they sell the picture frames and stuff. Or again, if you use something like the 5x7 cold press paper from Mead, you could just get a 5x7 picture frame. And then each month, just slide the new calendar in and hang it on your wall. Or stand it up on a table or something. So whatever you chose to do. On that same aspect, if you wanted your calendar bigger, right, you could use one of the other blocks of paper by Mead. And again, if you get anything from Mead, I do encourage you to order directly from Mead. There is a coupon code, Clark10, which is capital C, and then LARK10. And you'll get a discount when you check out. Also, the Be Inspired watercolor paper. You guys know that I use this a lot. You could easily just divide that and do one on, get 2 per page. So lots of ideas, lots of ideas. if you wanted to do this yourself and not by the calendar. We are going to do 12 projects. So this is going to be a series of 12. And Wildflower says, oh, it didn't pop in on my side. I can see it on YouTube side. There it goes. Love my Meeden paper. I love the paper by Meeden. It is very much the same as like Bao Hong. They're almost, if not identical, they are almost identical papers. So let's talk about this. Today I have my, I just grabbed my big studio palette. Still is not done and ready, nor is my studio. I'm so frustrated. It has been a few weeks, let me tell you. So I grabbed, because I wanted my Daniel Smith colors. So this is the little Pashad box I made out of one of my old wooden boxes that my Schmincke super granulating colors came in. I've shared this before last year. And so anyhow, I grabbed, this is Daniel Smith. And then of course I grabbed my, whoa, almost knocked stuff over. I grabbed my portable painter, and this has Core in it. So I do have links for Core or Daniel Smith. And as always, I will let you know what pigments I am using so that you can paint with whatever you have at home. Okay. The Be Inspired paper. I love that paper. I'm not a fan of the Canson XL watercolor paper. I know a lot of artists do like that paper. I just particularly do not. But I do like the Be Inspired paper. And one is not any better than the other. I just like to work on that one more. If I'm going to use a wood pulp cellulose type paper, I just grabbed the B paper because it is so cost effective. I think at the time that I bought it last year and I shared it with everybody, it was like just over $12 for 2 50 sheet pads of it. You can't go wrong, especially if you're just getting started and practicing. So there you go. Excuse me. Betsy Paints says, welcome back. Thank you so much. All right. So we're going to get right into this. I'm just double checking, make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, Other Tara said she still has no power yet. As of this morning, when I got a message from her, she did not have power. No. All right. So for today, what I'm going to do, let's just start with I'll talk to you about this in a moment. Let's just tape this down. I have my Meeden masking. You can use whatever masking you prefer. I'm just going to tape this off. Just because I want a nice border around my painting. So I'm just going to go right to the bottom. And I like this versus like a black masking because I can see through it. So I can kind of use the edge of my paper as a guide to make sure that I'm getting it even. I don't think that was quite even. I probably fuss with it too much. Ugh, yeah, that's not. And because this is not going to actually keep it attached. Now, if you didn't care and you didn't want to tape it off, one of the things that you can do when you're painting this to keep your paper flat is flip it over and wet the back. And then set that down and then wet the front. And that will let it evenly expand. Because when you put water down on your paper, whether it be cotton or a cellulose paper, when water hits those fibers, they're going to expand. All right, and again, I'm going to tape that right there. And I'm going to put some more on this one just because if I get crazy, I don't want to get it on my calendar part where my numbers are. Okay, and then I'm just going to come in just a tiny bit. So it has like a little frame around the edge. Okay, and see how you can see through that. If this was the black tape, you just can't. I have some of the black tape and I use it occasionally, but it's very rare. I think I used to use it more for acrylic painting. For watercolor, I like a masking that I can kind of see through. So what did I just tape this to? This is just one of the little chalkboard. It's on like an MDF, like a really dense board. It's chalkboard that you can get from the dollar store. So I get these at the Dollar Tree. I love the size because it's very, it usually fits whatever I want to paint for videos for you guys. All right. Excuse me. So this will be a 12 painting series. I just realized I was probably really close to my mic, and I apologize if you heard me drink my water. All right. Hopefully the noise cancellation, you didn't hear anything. Hi, Susie Q. So we're going to do a series of 12 paintings. And I've made the decision that instead of putting them out as like a regular video, we are going to do them during live streams. That way there, it's all real time. You can ask questions if you're painting along, and we can do this together. So we're going to do January today. Next week, we will do February. So when I'm live with you next Thursday, we're going to paint February's calendar page. And I hope you guys will join me in this. I really look forward to seeing them if you do. Now, we will not only will we do February's next week, but then we're going to do, before March gets here, we will paint March, so that we have it done before the month arrives. And then we will do that continuing. We will paint April's in March. Okay, we will paint May and April, so on and so on. So that's going to be one of the live streams each month. So we already know what one of them will be. I have started a playlist. So all of the calendar projects will be in that playlist. And the other thing that you can do, if you're making your own, like I showed you with the using the Mead and paper or the Be Inspired paper, or whatever your favorite watercolor paper is. Whatever, use what you have on hand. But if you're painting these on your own, you could do this project with me, paint one every month, and then at the end of the year, instead of putting 2025 on them, put the 2026 calendar on them, and then you will have 12 months of watercolor paintings for a 2026 calendar that you could use for yourself, or you could gift to somebody. So if, you know, that's, maybe you do 2 or 3 of them, and you have a couple hand-painted calendars for 2026 that you could gift next Christmas. And yes, I know Christmas is over and we shouldn't be talking about next Christmas yet, but I have so many that I do for Christmas that I have to start thinking about it as soon as possible. I think this is a fantastic idea, and it is quite possible that I will actually scan my artwork in, and maybe I'll make some calendars for 2026. You never know, but I'm considering it. Okay, if you are a channel member or a patron and you're on the Discord server, after today's is done, we're going to chat over the next week. I want you guys to give me some of your ideas, inspirations. What would you like to see for February? Do we just want to do something that's hearts? Do we want to do landscapes? What do we want to do? We're going to talk about it. So if you're a channel member or a patron, and that's channel members starting with super fans and up, you can join us on Discord. That is one of the biggest perks that I offer. We have such a wonderful community over there, and come make some new art friends. Join us and help me figure out what we might do for our calendar pictures each month. Okay, all the business is out of the way. We are going to do this. Now, this one was inspired, if you guys remember painting it last year, this painting. This has still remained one of my favorite paintings. I just absolutely loved how the trees came out in front of the sun. And you notice I didn't put any here. I was trying to decide, do I want to put some? Do I want to put some up there? I made this look like it was a little bit further away. So probably not. I'm not trying to duplicate this. We've already done this. But I was using this as inspiration. And I thought maybe we'll put some water in. Like maybe there's a river coming through here. So you're going to see like some of these little clumps. You guys can't see it all that great. I'm going to sketch it roughly on the paper. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do for some easy tricks. We've done them many times before. We're going to use our masking tape for our birch trees. But you're going to see here, right? This is like in our water. That's going to be clumps of snow. I wanted to get some reflections in the water. So I needed to make it a river because I don't know about you guys, but it was like a wind chill of negative like 16 here today. Negative 16. And that's not as cold as January's been for us. So it's not bad. But I wanted to do some reflections with our sky in the water because I thought that would be fun. And in order to do that, this had to be open water. And when you live in an area where negative 16 is a norm in January, you don't have too much open water unless that water's moving. So we have a river. But the river will have clumps and chunks of ice and snow on it. So we're gonna try to create that. We'll see how well we do. And then you notice in this one, I still had some fall colors. I don't know where you are, but where I am in Maine, you will see no orange. Everything is gray. You're going to see evergreens or you're going to see bare branches. So this really isn't going to apply for my area in January. Now, if you're like, oh, I love this painting, I would like to make that my January. This was a live stream. You can follow along and you could certainly do that. This one here, excuse me, I'm actually working on the voiceover for this. This is the next Adventures in Watercolor Land painting that I am doing for patrons or channel members that are on the creator tier and above. So this is the next painting. I thought, what about the mountains? I loved the way these mountains came out and they were so easy. So I thought, what if we put some mountains in our background instead of a bunch of trees? And then that again would change it up and it wouldn't be the same painting as this one. So that was where my thoughts came in. This should be, I will be working on this week, probably the beginning of the week. So patrons can be looking out for that. And those are just real-time paint along videos that I do. They're small paintings. I hadn't gotten a bunch of them done. I set the goal. I was like, we're going to do 100 of them. Yeah. And then things went crazy at the end of the year, as they do. That's number 15, but we're not giving up. We will get there. I said 100 and darn it, I'm going to get 100. So let's see. Today, where are we going to start? The easiest thing to do, if you want to do a birch tree, I think they just look so natural. Let me grab my masking. Is to just grab our masking tape. First thing I'm going to do so that I have an idea. Well, we can see here, what I did was I made a line so it would be about the same width as what I was going to want my painting to be. So if I just I can kind of look at this as a guide for where to place my masking tape for my trees. Let's start with some that are in the background. Our sun is going to be, right, it's about a third of the way down. and it's about a third of the way in. So it's hitting right on one of those. Actually, mine's a little bit lower, but it's hitting right on those points, right, for focal points. So let's put it right about here. And I am just going to do this. You could grab, do I have it up here? Oh my gosh. I have my Helix Circle Maker. The studio has not been reset yet, so everything is chaos. I am just going to, right, we're just going to slowly like freehand a little circle in there. That's my sun. So I know where that is. I want to kind of shift this over. Again, you guys will have to let me know in the comments if I scan this, just so you can kind of get a rough idea of, you know, this rough drawing. Oh my gosh, my kneaded eraser does not want to come out of my container. There it goes. If that would be helpful to you. I mean, I could certainly, I'm considering that. I'm considering changing up how I do line art and when it's available, how it's available this year, but we'll get into all of that. Okay, are you guys having any issues seeing this? Because YouTube is telling me there might be an issue. I just, with my kneaded eraser, lifted out some of that graphite. Hopefully not. I am so glad you think so. I do. I have so much fun. When I have been busy, like being able to pop on the Discord and seeing what everybody's chatting about, and being part of that has helped so much while everything else has been going on. I'm just getting my horizon line that I want. And I know this is like, it looks like it's cut pretty much right, almost right down the center. And, you know, they say, don't put your horizon right in the center, but I think we have enough other stuff going on that it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I kind of, I'm roughly sketching like some hills like I have on here. Hills, mountains, whatever they might be. I'm just going to send that right back up the other side. That's fine. If these are going to be mountains, maybe there's another one back here. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, thank you, Joseph. And my warning has gone away also, so hopefully whatever it was. I know it's not on my end. One of the other things I've done since last I have seen you is I've upgraded all of the internet service here at my house, even more so than it was. I'm just sketching in. It doesn't have to be exact. I kind of went around. It kind of snakes around the bend here. And then this, come back. Oh, I gotta make sure I come around, because I want it to be wider than where the sun is, because I want to kind of see a little bit of that reflecting. And it's not right up to that horizon line. So there. Because I'm going to see a little bit of that sun. Not the whole thing. I don't want another whole circle. I'm just seeing like the top of it. Okay. And I'm not going to worry about little ice clumps or any little like wispy pieces that I drew on here. So if having this line art, again, just drop me a comment, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. If you are wanting to paint along and it's pretty easy. I mean, it's pretty easy to sketch that out. You can see that there, and I'll hold it here for a moment just in case anybody wants to pause, take a screenshot. Actually, let me make this bigger. Hi, Karen. Oh my gosh, I can't either. Karen says, I can't wait for artsy time on Saturday. Me either. So, Karen and Lindsay and myself and Shanna Karen is Karen Clark Creations here on YouTube. And if you haven't checked her channel out, I definitely encourage you to do so. I love Karen's art. And then Shanna, you guys know Caution Artists at Play. And Lindsay, of course, the Frugal Crafter. We are getting together. Sharon. I don't know where Sharon came from. Shanna will be with us like over Zoom or something because she can't make it up because we're all a little distance from each other. But yeah, they're going to teach me how to do some jelly printing. I've never done it. My jelly plates actually should be arriving anytime now today. I got extra ones in because, you know, buy all the things before you try them. Why not? So I just dropped my kneaded eraser. You never know what's going to happen here live. So anyways, yeah, we're going to get together. I get to learn to do some printing with the jelly plates. So if that is something you guys are interested in, let me know because I will be so happy to share that with you guys. And we're doing that Saturday, so I can't wait. All right. Everything is done. You saw me. I just kind of lifted some of that out with my kneaded eraser. I got a few spots that are a little dark still. Just lift a little bit more. There we go. Now, the other thing that we want to do is place our birch trees. I love doing birch trees. I love doing birch trees with masking tape. So, where's my paper? Bring that back so you guys can see it again. So I'm going to start with these. And these ones are my skinniest ones. They're furthest away. I need to be about other Tara says, do we get to see a video of it? I have no idea if we're going to record anything. Of course, if we do record something, you guys will definitely be able to see. But yeah, we haven't talked about that. So what I'm doing first is I'm just ripping this edge off because I've told you guys before, I don't like that straight edge. And yeah, like jello shots with flatter. So I don't like to have the straight edge because nothing is really perfectly straight in nature. Now, I've showed you guys before, and I'll show you again when I do the bigger tree. There's another way you can do that without having to worry about the straight edge side. Virginia says she's done the jelly printing with watercolor. They tell me I'm going to have fun. That there is lots that you can use on the jelly plate. So I'm really looking forward to this. And then I know Karen uses some of her prints for when she makes her sketchbooks. She covers them with them. And I am super excited about doing that because I want to make some more sketchbooks this year. And definitely sorry guys, I'm just looking at which way that's going to be better. Want to do some of those. All right, now I want to make sure that my tree, these are further in the distance. So my trees are going to be a little bit skinnier at the top. And let me just rip off the extra here. I'm going to take a little bit more of this off because they're going to be skinnier as they get up to the top. And we're going to see branches probably on those. I want the ones that are in the foreground to be like, they're so close to us, we're not really seeing the low branches. Okay. So I'm just going to put that on there. There we go. That's going to be one of my birch trees. So now this one is going to be my other. So again, I'm just going to rip down the other side. Yeah, Wildflower says, I can't imagine being with those ladies and not having a fabulous time. It is always such a good time when we get together. At least I think so. I think they do too, because we keep getting together. So clearly they also must be having a good time. All right. I'm going to, I don't know what is going on with YouTube lately. Have you guys noticed it? Like, I've seen some people that I follow. I've seen their videos. And if they're longer videos, it's like right after they go up, they get a little glitchy and kind of stutter a bit, if you would. I guess that's the only way I can describe it. It's like they stutter. Like, we'll pause. Like, the audio is perfectly fine, but the video gets glitchy. So if you're watching on the replay and this is like that, one of the best things to do is come back and watch it later. All right, this one's not rip, doesn't want to rip for whatever reason. It's like, there we go. It just wasn't giving it up. Okay, so I pulled off my edges. I'm looking for which end's skinnier. This one is. And I'm going to make this one, because this one's behind. So I'm going to make this one a little further in front. And they're going to be kind of touching at the bottom, but this one's going to kind of go up. Oh, now look, that looks like it got ripped off of that space. I'm flipping this over. And we're going to set it this way, because I don't want it to look like, hey, you just ripped that tree off of that tree. So being conscious of that. And I will put that down as far as I want it and just tear off the bottom. There we go. Rob says, I'm watching you on silent. And, oh, you're on silent and I'm watching, and I just see white paper birch trees coming. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. No, Rob, Boo Peep. Oh, and welcome, Boo Peep. Rob is on silent because I think he's watching at work. So he has it muted. There's not something wrong with his feed. Okay, so now we need to do, right, we're going to need to do about the height of this, because this one is our closest tree. And I'm going to show you, before we put that down, just so that you have, this is the easiest way to do your shadows. We're going to be painting this on snow, and this one's going to paint up really quickly. So don't worry, we will definitely get through this one today. I'm getting my kneaded eraser out again because we're going to need it in just a moment. When you're, set that tape down. When you're doing your shadows, the sun is my light source. So if the sun is my source of light, if I go from the center of that and I come towards these trees, right? This is my light source. It's coming towards these trees. That means my shadow is going to cast right along that kind of vanishing point, if you would. And this is going to be, now staying with the center of the sun and just moving, right? There's my shadow. Again, around the center of my sun. Okay, that's where my shadow is going to cast. Now I'm going to lift this out just because I want to be able to see that faintly. I don't want to see it when it's done. And I don't want it to be rigid. The lines aren't going to be rigid. My tree is not perfectly straight. So if you notice when I did these, right, those, same thing. You can go from the center of the sun out. And you're going to get, this one's a little bit off, but you're going to be able to get your shadows that will look realistic. Because, you know, you don't want your sun's here and all your shadows just come at you. It's not actually going to be like that. Think of the rays coming off the sun. It's going to come, if this is my focal point, it's going to come off like this. So I want to make sure it's hitting that tree here and it's casting my shadows this way. Okay. So now for when we do our large tree, let me bring this back over. So our large tree here, I want my edges, again, to be not perfectly straight. So if I take this and I rip down the center, and I ripped part of it off, it's fine. It just stuck to my finger weird. Right? So we're going to just rip down the center, and then we can put those together like this, and all of a sudden we have our birch tree. And depending on how much I overlap it is how thick I can get that tree. So, oh. I am being challenged today. And it doesn't matter that I rip this piece off. It's tape. It'll stick to itself. And again, I got it a little thinner at the top. Trees do that. And I'm just going to go ahead. I want to rip this off because I want it to be kind of even at the bottom. That would be an unnatural. And this one I'm putting right about. Now the wonderful thing is you can reposition these. I think I'm going to have it right about there. I'm moving it because I'm looking at where this shadow is going to come through, and I don't want it to look like it's the shadow from this tree. So we are just going to kind of bring that up like that. There we go. So your tree is going to look different from my tree because every time your trees will be different when you, based on how you rip your tape. Trust the process. And so then we need 2 others. So I'm just going to try to get through those as quickly as I can. Again, you can just overlap them. That's kind of a wonky one. And this is going to be back here. I'm looking at where I have them played. They're kind of staggered. 1, 2, 3. So it's like 1. So this one should be right about here. And see, I actually drew it kind of curved that way, and I ripped it. It ended up curved the other way. Doesn't matter. You can do as many trees or as few trees as you like. And then this one I made another larger birch tree. So again, I'm just going to rip down the edge. And you can do it this way too. You can just place one first. I want this tree to be in front of the other one. Oh my gosh. This tape is it's a light tack tape. Just giving me a hard time wanting to stay stuck where I put it. And I want this to be in front of the other one. So I don't mind that they overlap at the bottom, but I'm going to definitely want some separation at the top. So I need to move this one over a little bit. Because I do want some separation between these 2 trees. There we go. That's fine. However they are. All right. That was the hard part. Okay. Yes, Rob said he was basing that on me tearing tape. Yes, he has seen this. He has seen this technique just a few times before. All right. I'm just kind of burnishing. I wish I would have brought one of my new tools up that I got for Christmas. It's sitting downstairs on my other art desk, but I'll share it with you another time. There we go. It's time. Let's get painting. I need to lighten up this on the water a little bit. It's still a little dark. There we go. Okay. So, let me just spritz up some watercolors here. I have no idea what I'm going to be grabbing. Okay. What I'm going to use similar colors that I did in this one. So we have white, we have a nice warm yellow, and we are going to bring that into some of our reds, and then we're going to get the blue of our sky. That I may use like almost like a neutral. I mean, it is a sunny day. Not all winter days are gray. So we're going to do that very similar. And you'll see here in the snow, I don't know if it's picking that up a lot, but I did bring some of those pinks and yellows down into the snow. So we're going to do something similar to that through here. And like on our mountain, I think we're going to do some of that on our mountain as well. Whereas this one, this video is coming for patrons, where I just did the blues for the shadow parts on these mountains. These make me think of like the Rocky Mountains, not mountains like we have here on the East Coast so much. But I think where I have in some of this, we're actually going to pick up some of those pinks and yellows and stuff too. The sun setting, I think we might see some of that on the mountains. I don't know. I could be wrong. But we're going to paint that part in first. So when we paint that in, we're going to put the reflection in our water. We're not going to worry about, do I need this to be, where do I need the snow? Because as always, I have some Dr. Paige Martin's Bleed Proof White. If I need to bring back clumps of snow, I'll just do it with that. If I need that snow to have some of those blues or pinks or yellows, I can just tint my Dr. Paige Martin. So it doesn't matter what I put down there. I'll be able to cover that up. You could also use gouache. Okay. I have my Princeton Velvet Touch. I just grabbed my size 10 round. I've got a size 4 round. I don't think we're going to need anything more than that today. We could use I think I'm just going to grab a mop or something. I was looking to see if I had it. Let's see what we got. Okay, it's not in here. I swear I had one. I don't know which desk. It could be downstairs. It could be lost somewhere around here. I just don't know. Yeah, the 3/4 wash will be fine. Whatever you have. You could use a mop brush. I was looking for one of my little, my motlers. Oh. No, I don't think they have one. I don't have one for Velvet Touch. If they have one, I don't have it. I don't think they do. It's a set. See? I have it in my Princeton Aqua Elite has it. All right, we'll just set that one aside. I might grab it, but I don't know. So I am going to start and just wet the background of this paper. I am going to have a piece of tissue ready because where I have my sun, I'm going to dab the water off of that. So remember, our watercolor is it's only going to spread where there's water to go to. If I tap that out, then it's not going to have as much water to travel into that space. And I just painted on some of where my mountain is, but that's fine. Just trying to get my sky wet. And I don't want pooling water. I just want it to be nice and glossy. So let's see. See how that's glossy? It's not pooling anywhere, but it's nice and wet. And then, so you can see here right now, that shine, it's all even through here. I'm going to take, and an easy way, and I don't see it. Usually I have one on my desk. When I'm doing like a circle, I'll put like a dime in a tissue, and then that gives me a perfect circle where I can just like press the dime and turn it. But I'm just going to dab this out. Doesn't have to be perfect. So now you should be able to see my circle? Not wet. Okay, so let's start with, I should have had these already ready. Let's go with PY150, like a nickel azo yellow. Right? Look at how bright that is. I want to water that down. I don't want it that bright. That's like really bold. I want to lighten it up. Just adding some extra water. And right around the area of my sun. Remember, our watercolor is going to lighten. It's going to lighten up as it dries. But I just want the yellow part to be. And then down here, I should have wet my water as well. I'm not worried about all of the water, but we'll just, and I'm not worried about being perfect. Just trying to stay in the lines as best I could. All right. This is spreading, which is fine. I grabbed the Daniel Smith PY150. You can grab Core, whatever you have. It's just it's a nickel azo yellow. Okay. Then let's switch that up. I think I'm going to go, and I don't have the names, so I apologize. I just have my pigment numbers written down because this swatch card is so tiny. But this is a PR 168. On Core, I have like a Pyro Red Light. Maybe we'll do that, which is a PR 255. Again, that's going to be way too bright for this. I want light, nice light colors. So just more water. And I'm just going kind of right over the edge where that yellow, where they meet. Right, doing a little blending. Going to come down here, do the same thing. I'm going to bring this out. I can feel my paper's already starting to dry because, you know, it's winter here in the studio. Or it's winter here in Maine, which means the studio is ridiculously dry. So I'm just going to re-wet this area of my paper. I don't have a lot of water. It's not going to push a bloom back towards my color. If I came in with too much water, that would happen. So if you had to add water and you see when I put it down over here first, and then I worked my way towards my color. That was so that I wouldn't get as much water pushing into there. So now I have a PV19, right? We want that like magenta color again. I want it to be very light. And I'm just going to come right up to the edge of where that orange was. So I'm just transitioned from that nice warm yellow to now a cooler red. And this cooler red is going to let me lead into the blue very nicely. Again, wherever I went there, here I'm going in my water. Okay. Again, just this paper. I'm not sure Pretty sure this is the Lightwish's brand paper, the cotton paper. I think you can buy their paper. That's what this is. Now let's just go for some ultramarine. Let's just grab ultramarine blue. I'm grabbing Core because my Daniel Smith, I have French ultramarine. So that's more granulating. I don't want it to be as granulating. So I am going to use my one from Core. Core is not as granulating as my Daniel Smith's French ultramarine. All right. And we are just going to lay in some of this, and it doesn't matter where it touches here, right? These are just going to blend. You see, I started away from it and came back towards it. So I'm not putting too much water or color in that space, and those will just blend. And this paper is, again, it's already drying. I don't mind getting darker on the outer edges. Again, your colors will dry lighter. Sorry, my brain just was focusing on the blending here. And don't worry if when you paint out in this area, it's not perfect. Maybe there's a couple clouds in the sky. It's okay. Just rinsing out my brush. And now I'm going to bring my sponge down so you guys will be able to see. Like, I'm going to come in. I want to get most of that water off my brush so that if I come here and want to blend over anything, blend any colors into each other, I don't have a lot of water on my brush that's going to cause some weird blooming or what have you. I just wanted that to kind of blend nice and easily. This is too dry for me to bring that blue in. Cadmium Red Feral Kitten, hello. She's, oh my goodness, streams are back. Yes. Streams are back. Just re-wetting over this area just because I want it all to be uniformly wet. Because again, it'll push a bloom if I have wet here and this is almost dry. And we're going to do the same. I'm just going to come out. Now this is the water. It's reflecting the sky, but you're going to see, like, we're going to put some darker values in this water. It's not all going to be the same. Down here, I think I'm going to let's bring some of that pink down here as well. Like, that's still, right? This whole reflection is coming this way. Why not? Just going to grab that blue and let those kind of mingle. Again, I'm not worried about if I have little weird patches or something. I need to put snow on this water and ice. So, and those, that's wet, those will blend just fine. I'm not going to go too much in. That's a little bit further into there with blue than I wanted. I actually don't want that to be blue that far. So just going to dab with my tissue, kind of lift that out. We'll take some more pink. We'll put some more of that in there. Yeah, I like that better. This again was drier. So dry off my brush. I can just meet that edge. Blend that right out. There we go. Now look at that. Look at our reflection. Told you this was going to paint up quickly. We will definitely have this one finished today. And I hope you guys paint along and or paint this one, watch the replay, and paint with me. This one is, I like this. Okay, this blue, we're going to end up using this again, but we're going to end up adding some neutral tint in with that when we do like our shadows. Now, our snow is going to have some of these colors in it. So I want to go even lighter than this. Like, this is reflecting my sky. I want this to be, to translate that it is snow. Well, I'm just getting a little bit more water, and I'm just coming over here because that's going to lighten this up even more. You see there's barely any color left there. We can see the blue, but there's not a lot. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet some of my snow. I'm going to come in through here. I need this to dry a little bit. Let's see how this works. You guys tell me if you can hear the heat tool. Hopefully it will cancel it out. Hopefully that's canceling it. I don't know. I'm going to wait and hear what you guys say. Okay. Yeah, I have too. I have been missing you guys so much. So much. Rob asked, how is the paper behaving? I feel I would need a 2026 version of this. So Rob, you had me muted at the beginning. He says it would take all year to get 12 done. Yes. No cancellation, and it did lower the volume. No cancellation, but it did lower the volume of the heat tool. Okay, well, great. As long as it wasn't like blasting heat tool in your ears, then that's what matters. Especially for those of you who like watch with earbuds in. All right. So, Rob, what I had said was, I'm just going to wet this area, okay, where we're going to have snow. So what I said was, you can do these. We're going to do one a month. Next week, we'll paint February. And then before February is over, we will paint March. So the way this calendar is designed is you just paint one and then you set that month's on your stand so you can see it. But what I had suggested was something that you guys could do is to paint all of these projects and down here do your own calendar part for 2026. And then at the end of the year, you'll have 12 paintings to go along with each month, and you could like make calendars that you could gift to people. So you could paint each one, a couple times if you wanted to make a couple calendars. All right, so I'm going to take some of that very, very pale, barely blue, and I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to put this down. Don't be afraid to paint this in. I'm like skipping around, right? I'm not making it all perfect because snow is not perfectly white. And I need to, same thing over here. I'm going to wet the area where my snow is. Remember these, I think we're going to do as mountains. I think that sounds like it would be fun if those were mountains. Oops, I almost went to my palette instead of my water. Okay, so same thing. I'm grabbing a little bit of that blue, but I want a very, very watered down, really pale version of this color. I'm just going to put that in near the back, and I'm working my way towards the front. There's like a little bit of snow on the other side of this. Remember that horizon line I said is kind of going through, almost through the center of the page? Well, we have snow back there too. We're just going to put that down blue. All right. Again, let your brush skip around. We want some areas of our paper to be white. I have like a little fuzz on mine. There we go. We don't need it all to have, snow's not even. You have peaks and valleys. Okay. Now, let's also get some of those pinks and some of that yellow in there. So same thing. This pink, which was, I used a PV19. Again, apologies. It was Daniel Smith. It was probably like a Quin Magenta. And in this area where our pinks are, right, I'm going to put just a few pinks. They're going to be lighter. Maybe I have a few pinks that are picking up over here on this snow. Not a lot, just a little bit. And our yellow, again, we want very light. And that's going to be like up in here. I need that actually a little bit lighter. So I just dipped the tip of my brush in my water. I want this to be very, very light. I'm catching a little bit of that on the snow. I'm not going over areas where the blue are. See, I'm touching there. Again, there's a fuzz on my paper that drives me crazy. I'm just catching the edge because I don't want to make green. Nobody wants green. I don't know what green snow is, but nobody wants that. So we're just going to pull a little bit of those colors in through our foreground because I want this to really light up. When we do our trees, this is going to help too. Again, our colors will dry lighter. If you get something that's maybe a little too bright for your liking, just clean your brush, dab it off. You can also do that on a piece of tissue and just go back over those spaces. You'll lift off a little bit of that pigment. Or of course you could dab it. So now there, see how we have just a little bit of the yellow showing and some of the pink. We've got some of that blue. We're good. We have snow. This might look like, oh, that's too much blue. But once we put the shadows in, you're going to quickly see how much this lightens up and it just looks like snow again. Oh yeah, the core Quin Magenta is PR 122. That's this one. It's gorgeous. And it's beautiful. And when you really thin that down, you get just this really baby pink. It's really pretty. That was for, oh, right there, Wildflowers comment. So that is this one right here. All right. So when it canceled, Other Tara said when it canceled out when I spoke while it was canceling out my heat tool, I sounded like I was underwater. Yeah, we don't want that. All right. Mountains. Are you ready? This is going to be very easy. Hopefully Lou is paying attention because the UPS man is here and it is, like I said, wind chill is below 0 and I don't want my jelly plates to freeze. All right. I'm drying my brush off so that I don't have much water in that at all because I don't want to cause a bloom. If I introduce more water to this, I'm going to, but I'm really not liking this. I think that blend was a little bit too, I don't know, it was just a little too harsh. I just wanted to soften that edge up. It is what it is. Like I said, there could be clouds. It's fine. We're almost at 1.5 years, Rob. Rob has been with me since I opened memberships here on the channel. So congratulations and thank you. Thank you so much, Rob. 16 months of membership. Okay. Our mountains. Mountains can be easy. I've got this weird spot right here where I didn't get that line smooth. Again, it's fine. I'm not going to worry about it. When we do them, I'm going to take a little bit of neutral tint and put that there. Take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and kind of blend those together so that I have this nice light blue gray. And I think, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm still going to just use my number 10 round. I was thinking about switching to a smaller brush, but this has such a great point that I don't think I need to. All right. Okay, so if I want to do a mountain, let me just kind of show you how I did these. So when I painted these mountains, I just started, and I had my brush on its side, and I just kind of let it skip around. These are going to be like our lightest values, right? We can darken things up as we go. So my brush is on its side. I'm going to start at the bottom, because if I put too much paint, that's the bottom of the mountain. There's going to be more dark down there anyways, so I'm not going to worry about that. But I can just kind of skip up. I don't care if I skip spaces, because that's snow on the mountain, right? And so we're going to go, I want to make sure though that I do get right up to where my tape is on these birch trees. I do want to get all the way down to my horizon line. Here, I don't have to worry too much about that. So this mountain, we're not going to see, there's not going to be like, the trees are in front of it. You're not going to see a whole lot going on there. And again, remember I said we'll probably bring in some of these colors on our mountain. So again, I'm going to start near the bottom. I'm just going to kind of let it come up, skip around. I'm going to have to mix up some more. Now there's a mountain here. I want to put a mountain here in front of this one. We're going to define those with our next layer. Okay, so once again, I had neutral tint. That's way darker than I had before. So I'm rinse out my brush. Remember, I want this to be nice and light. Some of my blue. So I just have this nice like blue-gray. And again, on using the belly of my brush, just having I almost like completely parallel with my paper when I'm doing this. I'm going to move this so that my hand can come down here, right? I'm just skimming my brush. It's barely touching my paper. I want it to skip around. What you're focusing on here is not like, I have to paint the perfect mountain. What you're focusing on is, this is a snow-capped mountain. I want to leave white at the top, okay? There we go. So that right there is like my lighter value. Those look like mountains now. Now what we need to do is we're going to take a little bit more pigment. So we're going to bring in a little bit more of our ultramarine blue. Wow, that was hard, right? And a little bit more of our neutral tint. See, there's where we were, and here's where we are now. So that is definitely a bit darker. And if you're not comfortable with a brush this big, you could use like a size 6, or you could use, this is a 10. You could use a 6, you could use a 4. Use what you're comfortable with. But I find when I want to kind of skip along and use the belly of the brush, that when I do that, it's easier with the bigger brush. So now let's just come over here first, because we don't see a lot of this mountain. And one of the ways you can make it easier is if you just painted right over your tape with the whole thing, because then it's going to look normal. I'm laughing at the chat. All right, and so here I want to, and like this is actually kind of dark. I might need to blend some of this. I'm just going to kind of pull this down, like I said, as if I were painting the whole mountain. And if that's a little dark, all I have to do is dab that up with my tissue. Taking that right again to the, and remember, you always have your Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed proof white. If you get something that you are not happy with, you can always put more snow on top. I just wet my brush. These were a little darker than I wanted. I wet my brush and dabbed it off. And again, this one's hard because we don't see that much of it. But as we come through here, I'm going to start down near my horizon. I just cleaned my brush. I'm lightening this up. I think that versus seeing a silhouette there, that sun would be so bright. I think it would just like blow out that color. So I'm just going to lighten that up a little bit more. Blend those together. That's fine. I'm going to leave it like that. Just thinking of like how the land would come down. I want it to be sloped at like an angle so that we get that height translating. Again, I am letting this skip around, go right over your tape. And if I want to break up this mountain from this mountain, the top of my mountain is light. In order to put some separation, that means I have to make the bottom of this part darker, right? I can't have light without dark. I can't make that stand off and look like there's a separation there if I don't darken something else up behind it. So don't be afraid to darken part of that up. Just taking a little bit of that lighter again. And I'm bringing a little bit of the light back in through that lighter value, right? I've added water to this. Back into some of this. And let's go ahead and let's get some of our pinks, especially here, into some of this snow. I'll bring a little bit over here, not a whole lot. Then I keep wiping that on my tissue. A little bit of this very pale yellow. Again, right now where I'm putting yellow, I'm looking for spots that are white so I can just put a few touches in there. Because I don't want to make anything green. So I don't want to go over any area of the blue. That's fine. Okay. I'm not going to worry about here because that's a little bit too far away. And I'm not going to worry about like over here because that's too far away. But we might bring some into the front part of this mountain because this one's back further. This one's ahead. So the leading edge of this one could also be catching some of that color. So again, I'm just kind of painting right through where my trees are. But I want to catch a little bit of that color. And I'm going to go back to the pink as well. And you see, I barely have any color on here. I want it to stay nice and light. It's snow, remember? It's white. It's just reflecting a little bit of that color in the sky. Not a lot. There we go. And then I'm going to go back to getting some of my darker values. I'll focus them near the bottom and I'm going to like pull some of that up. You see, like I went again, painted right over my tape. I'm not painting over all of those lighter values. Get right to the edge of that paper where the tape is. Again, you can come back over anything and add some more white in with your Dr. P.H. Martin's if you feel you need to. But really, I don't think we're going to. I'm going to make a little bit even darker now, because through here, I really want to darken a few spots up here. Again, it's going to lighten a little bit as it dries. If anything feels too dark when you first put it down, tap it. And if that doesn't lighten it enough, you can always come back with just a damp brush. And you can lighten some of it out like I just did there. That mountain is further backward. This one, we're not going to have quite as dark as that. And this is on the tape of my tree. So I've started there because I know that that part's not going to show, but it's going to help me as I map out, this mountain. Sometimes, like you see me looking up, I'm looking up at my monitor to see how that's looking, taking my eyes off of it here because I'm too focused on it. And if I look at it on my monitor, it really helps me see where I might want some darker values. And one of the ways that you can do this, because I know that you all are not making videos for YouTube, is to simply turn on the camera on your phone. Put it on a little stand, set it there, and turn that facing your painting and look at your phone for a minute. Look at the phone screen and see, how does it look to you? Where do you notice that you could maybe add a little something extra? I'm loving the mountains in the background now. Would the mountains get closer to the foreground? Would they get darker? Yeah, they could. They absolutely could. I mean, I just want to have that separation there. You definitely could make these darker. I want them all to be like, these are way off in the distance. So I'm not too worried about, like they would be cooler colors and they would warm up as they got closer. They would be, you would see more detail. So yeah, all of that could be, and you can certainly, if you want this one to kind of be lighter, but you're going to need that dark to separate the two, which is why I painted that one that way. But these are all pretty much, they're back there at a distance. So we're not too worried about, would one be that much closer than the other, how much darker they would be. So I hope that helped. All right. I'm going to take, well, once I have that off, I guess I could check that. I'm not liking, there's a couple little spots where I'm like, my brush is just barely damp. I wanted to kind of smooth that out. I wouldn't have any harsh line here. These are too far away. So right now my brush is just damp. And I'm just kind of going over this space, right, to kind of blend that forward. Right? I don't want to really see where my mountain stops, where my snow starts. I want you to feel like these are really far away. So I'm just kind of reactivating a little bit of that watercolor just to soften the edge. And this brush is not wet. I mean, it's damp, but it is not very wet at all. All right, I am happy with that. Now, what we need to do before we take our tape off, let's paint in our shadows. Okay, so we're going to take, I think I'm going to use these same colors that I was using, and we can turn this now because we're going to ignore that magenta there, but we're going to be using this part of the palette now. This is a Meeden. This is one of my favorites. This is a Meeden palette. Again, links to Meeden are in the description below, and you can absolutely get a discount with code Clark10 if you order directly from them. I have never personally had any problems ordering from them. Oh, you know what we didn't do is we didn't do our lines where for these shadows. So I'm going to show you how you don't have to draw them on. You could do them this way. We're going to take, first there's the ones we know, right? We have this one drawn out. So I've got this blue with a little bit of neutral tint, right? I want that to be nice and light. And we are going to just come where those lines are. And again, I'm kind of skipping along when I do this because it's snow. There are going to be hills and valleys in that snow. So if you skip and stutter, almost looks like kind of like a dry brush, that's not going to matter. It's not going to look weird because it's snow. Snow is not like a perfectly flat surface. Now I'm lightening this one up a little bit. Grab some more. Now for this, here's my big tree here. I'm going to come from about where the center of my sun is at. Look at the shadow. I'm going to use the shadow that the ruler's casting to show you. So if I put that line there, right here's the edge of my tree. I'm going to just pull from the edge of my tree like that. Okay, there's going to be my cast shadow. And then same thing, grabbing a little bit of this ultramarine and neutral tint that I had left on my palette. Now here, I'm going to go just like that. I have my shadow, the shadow of my ruler is making, because the clear ruler, I can place that right about where the center of my sun is. And I know that these trees, well, they're going to cast a shadow like this. Right, and if I look, where's the other edge of that tree? You see how I have to turn that? I'm getting that shadow to come along this side because my tree is over here. So I want to go to that part. And that's going to show me where my brush is getting too dry. My paint is getting too dry. Right, so this area is all shadow. Again, I don't mind if some of the white shows because it's snow. It's not perfect, right? And then let's catch this tree. It's going to be right about here. We're just going to kind of put that shadow back behind. And that tree is behind this other tree. I'm going to go ahead, dipping just the tip of my brush in my water. I'm going to even darken that up in here. Now, this, I have some hard edges here. I don't have as hard of an edge here. I do have some here. I don't want that. So my brush is clean. Get most of that water out. And I'm just going to come along, starting away from that line and work my way to it. Right? Now, if that paint was still, when I had just put it down, it would have blended that softer a lot easier. So again, my brush is just damp. I'm going to come away from the line, work myself to it. Because now what I've done is just given it a little bit of wet area where it can kind of bleed into. and soften up that edge. And I want to get right to the edge of my tape. There we go. All right. Okay. Now when we do the trees, we're going to do them. I'm just softening up some of these lines. Again, just damp brush. Right, it's a shadow. There we go. I'm still not crazy about this one. But I need to stop fussing with it because it might look perfectly fine once I put my trees in. And if I don't like something, I can always use my Dr. P.H. Martins and adjust it a little bit. Okay. Now we need to peel our tape off. I'm just going to go nice and slow. It's coming up very easily. We have some trees here. Let's get our other big one from the front. Do not worry, like if you see how I have a little bit of paint that seeped under the edge, don't worry about that. Okay. Oh my gosh, it smells like Lou is cooking something. I can see some lines here. I'm just going to go ahead and erase those because I don't want any lines to show. So I'm like, this is not the pencil I used. I like the eraser that's on the pencil I used. Oh, there it is. Just making sure any of the lines are gone. Now I can still see a few of the lines there on mine from when I did that shadow. I like using the ruler. I like using the ruler trick a lot. Yeah, absolutely, George Pencil Art, I can. George asked if I could hold it up closer to the camera. There we go. So right now, there are our trees. We see our shadows, but we need to make this a little bit more, get our trees done. We're going to do our trees in stages. So we might come in, with a little bit of work on our water and do that while we wait for parts of our trees to dry. So again, don't worry if you have like the lines like this. Don't worry about it. You'll see why in just a moment. What we're going to do is we're going to start with a tree. Just pick a tree. And you're going to take your brush and you are going to wet that tree. I'm only wetting the one I am working on. And then, remember back here, we had our yellow that we used? Well, we want that sun setting. Right? We're going to put a little bit of that yellow down this side that faces the sun. Again, this will dry softer. I'm not doing this really dark. Rob says, tell Lou I might be over in about 12 hours. Yeah. Okay, and then on the other side, remember we have our neutral tint. So that cool shadow color we've been using. Well, I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it on the opposite side of our tree. And again, this might look darker now. Don't worry about it. Just definitely try. And this tree I want in front of that tree. So I have to remember that tree stops right about there. Okay. And these, because my tree is wet, they're going to kind of spread. We're going to get that three-dimensional shape to it. I can come down the center though, just kind of make sure everything blends. Now, you know, I used that neutral tint and I used the yellow. Sometimes you can use like a burnt sienna. That's what I did on these. This was like a burnt sienna. It was very light on this side. I used like burnt sienna. It went because I had that burnt sienna here in the background too. This time, we're not using burnt sienna. We want to illuminate those trees. We're just going to use the yellow that we have from our sunset. Again, very pale. It's a nickel azo yellow, PY150. We're doing it very, very dilute, very lightly. All right, let's go for our next tree. I'm going to skip this one just to give this area right here a little bit of time to dry before I make contact together. So I'm going to go ahead and wet this one. And these areas where some of that blue came under, I mean, I can scrub it up. If it doesn't go away, it really doesn't matter. We're going to put dark marks on our birch trees so we can cover them up. So again, we're going to wet this down. And don't worry about the base of our tree either. There's snow there. If it clumps up on our tree weirdly, it's fine. Again, we can use our Dr. P.H. Martins and kind of adjust anything that we don't like, how it sits into the snow. All right, so taking just a tiny bit of that yellow. I already have water on my paper. This yellow is already, let me turn it this way because we're using these two colors right now. So this yellow is already been really diluted, but because this is wet, it's going to dilute it even further. So we're going to bring some of that nice bright yellow sun setting color. And this one's larger. So let's go ahead and remember back over here where we had that, what's left of that PV19. Let's bring a little bit of that in on that edge as well. We're going to pick up some more of that pink color. Again, I've got some fuzz on my paper. You see that it's not very dark. And then we're going to take a little bit of this neutral tint. And we're going to come down this side. It will dry lighter. And you think, oh my gosh, this is dark. Like, that's not going to look like a white birch. It does. Trust the process. Right down the edge of our page. And then I'll just clean my brush. Dry those off. And just with the tip, kind of let that center blend. So I can see some of that pink in there. And I need a tiny bit more on here to do some of the rest of my trees. We'll bring a little bit more of that in. That was a touch much. Cleaning that off. It wasn't dilute enough, but again, I just go over it. There we go. Now our trees start to have some shape. Oh, have a good evening, Dolphin. Dolphin Soul, taking off for the evening. Okay, we can get back to this one. Usually I paint from this way to this way because I'm right-handed, but nope, I just went all willy-nilly. Okay, so we're going to wet this one. Again, a little bit of our yellow on the left side facing the sun. I'm going to bring a touch of that magenta into it as well. It doesn't have to be a straight line. You can just kind of drop it here and there. Once we put the lenticels, I actually remembered what they're called this time. Once we put the lenticels on the birch trees, those are those black striations. It's all going to just blend very nicely. Okay, so just kind of letting it blend through the middle. There we go. Look at them starting to take shape. 2 to go. We just keep repeating the process. I love painting birch trees. This time though, instead of being on the left side of the tree, our yellow will be on the right side of the tree. And I'm going to go ahead and grab. You can barely see it, but there is some of that PV19 here. And then I'm going to come right back over here. And again, I've got my other tree. My other tree comes in front like that. And I don't have to worry about a darker shadow being here because this tree would be casting a shadow on this tree, not the other way around. If they are close enough together, like down here at the bottom, yes, we could see some of that shadow coming back, but not up the whole thing. Like just like in this area where they're like almost touching, maybe it gets a little bit darker through here. Again, I've just tapping that off on my tissue and just softening that edge. There we go. All right, last tree to put in its shape. Yeah, I don't know what he's making, but it smells good. All right, yellow. Now, here's where this one can get a little tricky. This tree is in front of this tree, and it's more to the right. We're not going to see as much of that yellow color. Probably not going to pick it up because the other tree is casting shadow on that. But we're going to go ahead and still just bring in a little bit here. I'm going to use it kind of sparingly. I am going to go for some of this pink. Okay, just because I want this side lighter. But it's not as bright as these are. And then we're going to put our neutral tint here. Oh, he's using something. I would bet for sure, Rob. There we go. I really want this to have more shadow. And I think I'm going to beef up the shadow on this side too. But before I do that, I want to come back through. Again, I've tapped my brush off and just sort of blend that center. And I'm going to have to soften this one up because this one's not as wet. So let me just dampen this tree one more time. Just because I want this edge to be softer. I don't want any hard edges. Not on this part. But I do want this to be darker. I think I want that one to be a little darker as well. There we go. Those look a lot better. Sometimes we get afraid to go dark. And we want this sunlight to look nice and bright. And we can't get that light if we don't bring in some darks. There we go. Okay. While those are drying, because we're going to put the lenticels in last, those are going to be quick and easy. I will be using an old piece of cut up card to do mine. I've shown you that before. I will show you again how it's done when we get there. Won't be long. All right. Now, I think we want to make sure that this is water. And I'm really thinking I want to take, this is where I'm going to bring in my size 4 round. I rarely use a brush this small, but I'm going to take my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. And I'm just going to put some up here on my palette, just so I'm not going back into my container with my brush. Okay. Now, further back, perhaps we don't have, right, like it's smaller. If we have clumps of snow or something that are like floating, or ice that's floating down our little river here, it's going to be smaller. As it gets closer to us, they're going to get bigger, more pronounced. So I'm just going to throw a few pieces back here. Now remember, I said we can tint this, and we can. I'll cover that in just a second. I am just kind of skipping along. But now as I get closer to me, I am going to make them bigger. Right? Like they're like clumps. And it's snow. Snow is like fluffy, especially if it was on this water, it would be wet. So it's going to be, it's not going to be like jagged so much, the snow that's sitting on that ice. So I'm kind of making nice smooth lines. And you notice I'm keeping the bottom of them flat. They're sitting on top of the water. So I do hope if you paint this one, tag me. If you share it on Instagram, that's the only place I am different. I am at Clark_fine art. Everywhere else, Facebook, it's at Clark Fine Art. If you're on MeWe, and the other thing we're going to have to do is get some shadow underneath these. See how as we come closer to us, I've got larger, you're seeing these larger in the water. And I'm keeping the sizes varied. And the shapes are just whatever pops off the brush. And remember, your brain is going to want to make patterns. I was seeing like some little patterns showing up there. And we don't want that. So those are all like really stark white. It wouldn't really be that way, would it? So what we're going to do is we're going to come back with our brush and I'm going to catch some of this yellow. And on my snow that's closer to the yellow parts, and that was a little bit dark, so just going to tap it. That lightens that yellow up a little bit more. And then how about we get some of, remember there's pink here. It doesn't look like there's actually anything on my palette, probably on camera, but there is pink in it and is definitely going to make a difference on this snow, right? Because that snow is going to catch the same colors that are in my water right there. Now, any areas where there's pink, I'm going to put some of that on top of my Dr. Peach Martins. And I'm going to do the same thing. I needed some more ultramarine blue. Again, I'm using my core ultramarine blue because I have French ultramarine in my Daniel Smith palette, and French ultramarine is more granulating, and I just don't want the more heavily granulating version for this project. So I'm just going to come back in with some of that blue, but it's on top of that. See how I just dabbed that? It's going to give me some of those values, and I don't want to cut, well, these ones to get closer to me, I do not want to do the whole thing. All right, these are larger clumps, and I'm going to see some shadows on them. So I'm going to go ahead and just like let some of that stay. Just weird random spots, if you would. I'm going to come back over here for this darker from the neutral tint, kind of like we did on our mountains. I'm going to put some of that in there too. I want that a little bit darker. Okay, and then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of that neutral tint. Let's just see how this works. See how that's much darker? That's much darker than I've used anywhere else in this painting. So I'm going to start with the ones closest to me. And I'm going to just come right here underneath. And I say I'm starting with the ones closest to me because I'm going to see like darker marks there. And as I use up the paint in my brush, it's going to get lighter as I kind of go back. Which is what I'm going to want. I'm going to want those to be lighter. Especially here, this is so bright from the sun, I'm not seeing that as much. But I'm definitely seeing it darker, closer to me. And now I've lifted those up off the water. They're floating on top. There we go. And I think I'm going to put a little bit, what I have left on my brush. Coming through here. Remember I said this is water. I want movement in that water. This brush is very dry right now. I'm letting it be that way. I want that to look like water. So we're just dragging some of our neutral tint across. Not perfectly. There we go. Water. Let's get a little bit darker here underneath the edge of some of the snow, kind of hanging over the water. This starts to turn and come at me. I wouldn't see it there. So I'm going to do it up to this point where it starts to turn. And I'm going to pick it back up over here on this side. And we're going to put in a nice shadow edge underneath that. And again, I'm going to stop where it starts to turn away from me. Not going to be afraid to darken that up. We may find that when we get our lenticels on our tree, that we want to darken this up even a little bit more. There we go. Now that snow is sitting up on top and the river is down a little bit lower. And we wouldn't even really see the line back here so much, but let's just give it a little bit of some definition back there. Right? It's the water. Okay. Yep, I am. Yes. Cabby and Red Feral Kitten asked, are we going right through to the end of the painting today? Yes, we are. Because it's really, we're going to be done this very, very quickly. It's not going to take us that long to finish up. Okay. So we got to put some lenticels on our trees. And like I said, lenticels are the, I'm grabbing my 10 round again. I'm going to grab the neutral tint. I want this darker. Okay, that is those striations that are on our paper birches or like your aspen trees. And that's actually how the tree exchanges gases for these trees anyways. All right, so I'm just scooping my card into that paint. It is going to be however it is. I'm going to start here because you know what? If it's really dark, I don't care. This is my one that I want really dark on this side. So I can just come in, touch that, and pull, right? And that kind of shows me how much did I get. And you see when I pull, I kind of go rounded. I'm making like some rounded strokes, keeping in mind the shape of the tree. And I want this, decided I want the skinnier side to scoop up my paint. So I have a little bit more control. You can paint these all in by hand. I don't think my paint is quite thick enough because it is just not picking it up like I want it to. As I pull, I kind of come around and I let my hand get a little lighter handed. That one, see, that one was a little thick. Not worried about it. That actually does happen if you look at birch trees in nature. That is one of the reasons I love this way of putting on the lenticels. So now I need to come back the other direction. I'm actually, hopefully, it doesn't bother you guys too much, but I'm going to turn my painting because it makes it easier for me to just kind of pull through. There we go. Look at that. There's our birch tree. We can absolutely take, and I'll talk about when this dries, it lightens up. We may want to make some darker. So we definitely come back through afterwards. Just drag it through your paint. They don't have to be perfect. I need more. How thick is my paint? So this is, you see how that's moving? It's milky. It is definitely milky. It's not like a cream consistency. Yeah, well, maybe about a cream consistency, but it's not super thick. I hope that showed you and answered your question, Wildflower. I want enough that I can, like, I'm not scooping out my paint, but I want a little bit of a bead of paint. I don't know if you guys can see because this card is dark. If it will focus on my hand. It's not, there it goes. There's like, I don't know, it's not really showing up, but because it's black and that part's black. Let me try to do it on the blue side. Oh yeah, see, there's a little bead of paint on that edge. That's what I want. And I'm just going to touch and pull. Right? So I just scoop, get that little bead of paint on the edge, and I can touch and pull. Now I'm going to do the other side. And you see, I'll do it a couple times. Come through there a few times before I reload. Okay, this one's tiny. I'm going to save that one. I'll come back to that one in just a second. See, I'm not pulling as far. I'm also holding my card at a steeper angle to my paper. So I'm coming in like this versus like this. I go like this on the wider trees, but if I need more control, I want to kind of set that down and flick. Again, the other tree is behind this one, so I definitely want it to look like that one's there. And I also kind of stagger a little bit. Like I look at where the marks are making and I'll kind of get them a little offset. Let's just keep going on this side while the board's tipped. Oh, see, that was a big one. Not going to worry about that. And I will show you what you can do if you get something that you don't, maybe you're not particularly fond of. See, my paint is starting to dry, so it's not scooping as well. I'm not getting the same kind of marks that I did. I'm just lighten a little bit of that one up and dab it out. There we go. Finish this side. Okay, now we're going to just tiny little flicks here. You could do this with just your brush. Again, I'm coming kind of straight at my paper because this one's not as big. It's a younger tree, and younger trees don't have quite as many marks. Remember I had those marks up top? I don't even notice them now. See how I lightened that up? Some of them got a little heavy, so I'm all done with that card. I can now come back in with my, this is just my size 4 round, right? And any spots here where it lightened up, let me bring that up a little bit closer so you can see. Any areas where that got lighter, perhaps I want to just come in and put in a little bit of dark in that area. So now I have multiple values there. So I'm just going to come down through and touch a few spots where it was light, and I want to add some more value. It's a good way to be able to touch up your edge. Like the edge, you know, along the edge of the tree if maybe your card didn't quite grab it right. If you want some more into the center, like you can carry some over. So now it doesn't look like you just went from side to side. See, I'm just defining that edge, and I'll just pull a few through. Sometimes I go darker, like over that area. So like this space, I might pull a darker one through down here, where, you know, that it wasn't that dark before. And see what I mean about once you paint in these dark spots, all of that tree gets so much lighter again. They don't look dark. It's going to feel like when you put down the colors to give shape to your tree that they're too dark. 9 times out of 10, they're not too dark. And if you're unsure, just grab a piece of scrap paper and practice painting a few birch trees. Now in my sketch, I had these trees being further away and having branches on them. I'm not sure if I want to put the branches on them. I don't know if I want to add that or if I just want to leave it the way it is now. I'm going to touch up this one that got a little crazy on me, right? By just bringing different lines in, and see, it's not a problem anymore. And this is my 4 long round. I love this one because the bristles of my brush at that tip, like if you hold it back up further, you're going to have less control, and you get some really nice skipping and some really natural looking strokes when you do that, especially when you're doing these little lenticels on the tree. Yeah, the light, yeah, absolutely. That light does not pop until you put the dark in. And see, like even now, I think this shadow could be darkened up. So you just have to trust that process and not be afraid to make a mark that might be a little dark, a little darker than you maybe think you need. I don't want to spritz my paper. I'm going to take this brush. Again, I want not wet, just damp, because I want to just dampen that area so I can put some more shadow. I think we need a little bit darker shadow coming from these trees. Again, just dampening that area of the paper. Pull that out. That's a lot better. Let's do the same. Let's do the same here. Again, I had ultramarine blue right there. I just pulled a little bit of that neutral tint in. I'm going to do that same here. Just going to dampen this area. And now this, I want to make sure I touch right to the edge of this paper, or to the edge of where my tape is. Oh, my paint was not flowing off my brush. I'm just going to pull that back. It's a little dark. I wasn't getting what I wanted, and then there we go. Good enough. Thank you, Rob. Can't quite decide how dark I want that shadow. And too much messing with it is going to mess my paper up. There we go. Right, remember, it's snow. I just blended a little bit of that Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White in there. I like that. I'm going to do the same. Getting a little bit of that neutral tint into that Bleed Proof White. Just on these ones that are closest to us. And there we go. So it's not as much of a stark contrast as this one did. And the reason is because on this painting we did last year, we had these darks back here too. And then that light that was coming through. And we were seeing all that warmth cast, especially on this tree here. So we had that nice warm light coming through, and then we had a lot more shadows in our snow. But here, I could probably go a little bit darker in my water now that I see like how dark these darks are. I could probably most definitely darken just a few of those up before we call it done. Especially for what is closest to us. making sure that I leave some of that pink color in my water, that I don't cover too much of that up. And I'm also leaving some of the blue color, not making everything dark. All right, so if you are a channel member or a patron, and again, if you're a super fan, from super fan and up, you have access to the Discord server. And we will be chatting over there this week about what we want to paint for February. And I will come up with a painting that we can do. And next Thursday, we will paint February's page so that we are all caught up. I'm going to have to leave this one out because even though January is over, I really like this way this painting turned out. I will post a picture of it up on Instagram. I like that. The dark, I think, helped. Darkening up the stuff in the water. Going just even a little bit darker. Under some of these clumps of what I want to translate to ice or snow floating in our river. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one and that you're going to give it a try. Thank you. Okay. Oh my goodness. The fun part. Let's peel the tape. It's not 100% dry. I'm going to want to sign it, of course. I'm just going to hit this with the dryer. I'm not going to talk. Maybe it'll dull it. And I think we could even go a little bit darker on the shadow. Remember, I darkened it up. I could have gone even darker. Because once you put that full strength of that black in there, it becomes so much darker. It's such a darker value. So when we first paint them, like, we're a little intimidated. Ooh, that looks really dark. That doesn't look white anymore. Don't be afraid to do that, because once you put that, like, this one I think is decent, but like this could definitely be darkened up more. I could absolutely darken these up. This one's further away from us. I don't mind keeping it a little bit lighter, but these ones in the foreground, I definitely wouldn't mind like amping up some of that contrast. So when you're painting yours, don't be afraid to go even a bit darker than I did. And I am just going to, which one pen is this? Yeah, this will work. I'm just going to sign my painting before I peel the rest of my tape. And we have to remember it's 25. There we go. Oh, look at that. I love it. And I threw some water at this paper, not too much, not too heavy, but I definitely wet it all. We did, oh, look at that. We did some wet and wet techniques there. So if you have any, you know, if there's like this little spot where it carried over, I could absolutely, well, if it was wet, it dried. I could take my bleed proof white, which will reactivate if you have it on your palette. And just touch that part up. Now it doesn't stick out there. It's fine. And there is our January painting. So we're going to do 12 of these. This will be a series of 12. I've created a playlist here on YouTube, on the channel, that will say, I think it says calendar paintings or something like that. You'll be able to find it. And so once we can keep going, I will add a link at the end, you know, on this side of the video, where you'll be able to find the rest of the calendar paintings. So if you come in to the project and you're like, I just want to paint them for 2026 so I can do them as a gift for somebody, you could absolutely do that. I love, there's a little bit, let's see if it will erase. I'm looking for that pencil again. I'm seeing a little bit of the line from the pencil still here in my, there we go. Look at that. It did come off. Perfect. See if some of that line will come up. Yes, it did. So there we go. Look how bright our sun looks. I love it. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you paint it, please do tag me. Again, next week, we're going to do February's painting. What's it going to be? I don't know, but I will talk to you guys over on Discord. If you are a community member or above, we have live chat tomorrow. So again, that's on Discord. I will see you over there about 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. And normally I'm on till about noon at least, sometimes longer if the chat's really going. Oh, thank you. Virginia says, very January, reminds me of northern Wisconsin. Beautiful. I love it. I love the mountains. I love how we changed that up. It's not the same as last year's painting, but you can definitely see how this was an inspiration for this. And of course, the mountains that I just did in this one, which again, will be a Adventures in Watercolor Land painting for patrons and channel members of the creator tier and up. I am working on the voiceover on that. So hopefully you guys will have that next week. And yeah, hit that like button if you haven't already, and let me know. Are you going to paint along? Are you excited about creating a calendar? You can do this for 2025, or you can make them for 2026 and give them as a gift next year. We're going to paint one a month. And I think in case there are people who are wanting to do them as gifts, we'll make sure that we do the December painting before the holidays like Thanksgiving and stuff hit at the end of this year. That way there, you'll be able to have them all done and wrapped up. And who would not love to stare at that for the whole month of January? I get 2 days, or well, maybe 1 day, because I just painted it tonight. So I get to see this for tomorrow. And then it'll be February, but I'll be able to look at it until we do our painting on next Thursday for February. So there you are. Please do all the things. Hit that button, subscribe. It definitely helps the channel. Thank you so much to all the patrons and channel members. And I am so excited to be back. I am looking forward to the projects we are going to be doing this year. I have a lot planned. I have some exciting ideas and things that I'm looking forward to trying to get done. So I hope that you will stick with me and join us here every Thursday live, normally every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time for the live streams. And yeah, if you did this one, don't forget to tag me. I would love to see what you have created. And definitely, if you're on the Discord, share it in finished artwork so we can all appreciate them. And until next time, my friends, I'll pop a video up about there that you might like to watch next if you're watching on the replay. And until next time, keep creating. I will see you in a video real soon. Bye. Bye, guys.